the 2024 Paris Olympics. It was filled with a load of different moments and probably one of the most drama-filled sporting events of recent time that I can really think of, and was filled with a ton of situations that occurred spanning over the entire duration of the Olympics. A quick fun fact actually, I had actually covered quite a few of these back when it first happened. You know, things like the Michaela Skinner drama, the stuff with Iman Khalif, and the breakdancing drama. Then the Olympics said, "F you," and actually had took down my entire video, which by the way was like 2 hours long, basically because of a clip that I used in someone else's video that was still up on his channel, by the way. I will not get over that. I will never get over that. But man, that entire thing irritated me considering I spent so much time on the video. Once again, it was like 2 hours long. The video will probably never see the light of day, but today, gamers and gameritas, I'm gonna at least use part of my video that I made all the way back then for a certain drama that we talked about there. I'm glad not all my efforts are in vain. Regardless, today we are going to be talking about the breakdancing drama involving one Rachel Gunn and her infamy in, well, dancing will be generous. And now with her legacy cemented as one of the goofiest breakdancers in the Olympics, she decided to use this newfound power. Well, actually, before we get into any of that, we need to start from the very beginning on how she became such an issue. I'll see you guys in about like 20 minutes. One of the final events featured in the Olympics 2024 was the breakdancing event, or as they call it, breaking. That's apparently not set to be at the Olympics in the future, at least for the 2028 Olympics that's being held in Los Angeles. So, guess it was fun while it lasted. Now, it hasn't been stated why the event is cut out, with most people speculating that the reason is because of the limited amount of sports that the Olympics can host, and breakdancing just didn't make the cut. It seems like it just wasn't a priority for these people. And I'm sure this is a pretty valid reason and the reason that this is the case, but I'm sure a lot more people are gonna run with the fact that the reason would be of the recent controversy that happened with one of the contestants, a 36-year-old woman hailing from Australia named Rachel Gunn, or from what I'm assuming her like breakdancing name goes by, Ray Gunn. With her routine definitely being the performance of all time. Let's just say it was very memorable, all things considered. But let's get some background on her first. We obviously got to know the people that we're talking about, right? Gunn, 36, is a born and bred Sydney-sider. While she has become well known in breaking circles, Gunn also works as a researcher and teacher, integrating her passion for dance into her profession. She holds a PhD in cultural studies and an honors degree in contemporary music, both attained from Macquarie University. According to her university profile, her work is centered around cultural theory, dance studies, popular music studies, media, and ethnography. The Hornsby-born athlete currently teaches both undergraduate and postgraduate courses at Macquarie and is a member of the university's Performance and Expertise Research Center. Known as Ray Gunn in competition, Gunn is the nation's top-ranked breaker. She booked her ticket to Paris at the Oceania Breaking Championships in Sydney in 2023. Her, alongside her partner Jeff Dunn, aka a b-boy that goes by the name of J Attack, was representing Australia for the event. And this duo was first announced on February 23rd. So here's an official post by the Australian Olympic team, and it says, B Gunn, Ray Gunn, and B Boy, J Attack have been selected to represent the Australian Olympic team in the new Olympic sport of breaking at #Paris 2024. Now this announcement was apparently made when she first qualified for the Olympics. It's funny because if you guys look at the footage of the original qualifier round, and you guys look at the video, you can see that everyone in there was not excited for her to be qualified at all. There's only like 4 people who were actually excited and like got up and started hugging her and stuff, and everyone else in the crowd was like slow clapping like a Smash Bros character that lost the match. Like, was it really that much slim pickings for you guys? I'm starting to think the original B-girl that they had, like, broke every bone in her body or something. Because honestly, if this is the case, I still think they should have taken the risk. So now we kind of get to kind of the performance itself. And once again, it's a performance. I'm not going to risk showing all the footage of her dancing. You guys will be able to find it if you guys look hard enough. You guys look up like Ray Gunn dancing on YouTube or something. But let's just say that I think Ray Gunn took her moves from that freestyling dance instructor and most likely wanted to embody her choreography. I think I've seen kids from Hip Hop Harry do better moves than her. Ultimately, I shit you not, apparently according to a lot of the reports and multiple sources that I've been able to look at, she literally ended up getting a total of 0 points I didn't even think that was possible. I think there were some other people who had other really, really bad performances in the breaking tournament. There was also some really, really good people as well, like genuinely. But she was the one that stood out among all the others. I wish I could kind of be a fly on the wall of her in her room gassing herself up that she cooked was like the ultimate flames. Like, did you want to make a mockery of the sport? And also Australia, like, I know you guys are an entire entity of people, and there's definitely a vast majority of Australians who are probably looking in disappointment right now, but like, why make her the entire representation of Australia? And I mean this with no hyperbole, because ultimately that's what this does. It gives Australia like a horrible look in terms of its breaking competitors, especially with something like the Olympics, with there clearly being breakdancers that were really good and showed off some amazing moves. Now all of them are getting overshadowed by this girl and her horrible moves, and it's honestly just really sad. I feel bad for the people trying to make this event as good as possible, because people like her infiltrating it just makes the whole sport in general look like an entire goofball session, and it's really sad to see. It's weird too, because I actually went back and I looked at a lot of her previous performances. Now don't get me wrong, she definitely still dances about stiff as hell, like she got squirrel in her pants, I'm not gonna hold you, and they're all still trash. Don't get it twisted, they're all still really bad. But I actually feel like her performance in the Olympics was the worst I've seen of her. I think these other ones are a lot better in my opinion. I don't know if that's me smoking copium or like, I don't get it, I don't know. It almost makes me wonder how much did she even practice before going up there and then doing that. While I was kind of browsing through her Instagram, I did find that she was actually talking about how she was preparing for this routine while also doing her duties as a full-time professor at a university, like what we talked about before.
I feel like my bag always has like my bag always has two main things. It's like my knee pads and my laptop.
I love that. That's a good combo.
Because I need my knee pads to break.
Yeah.
And then, just do some emails quickly or like do some revisions on a chapter that I submitted, or copy edit this article I did, or moderate those grades. Like, it's just like finding snatches of time to do some work.
So honestly, it makes me wonder, like, how much time did she actually get to spend practicing her routine compared to how much she would spend practicing at the university? Because I won't hold you guys, I did not see those kangaroo and snake moves anywhere when I was looking at footage of her practicing. So either way, she did her goofy ass routine, and after the whole thing, people did not waste time to completely clown her for it, which I wholeheartedly support, because that was some doo-doo garbage in a sewer, sprinkled in more doo-doo. She got made fun of on the Tonight Show with someone cosplaying her, coming out and arguably doing a better job than her.
Wow, Reagan, this is, wow, Reagan, everyone, Reagan, it's Reagan, everybody. Oh my, oh no, I see, okay, please, no, I understand. No, very good, okay, Reagan, okay, thank you, Reagan. Oh yeah, that one, yeah. Me, you want me to dance with you? All right, I can do that, let's.
She got the full brunt of people making fun of her. I mean, she even got Moist Critical to get up there and do some moves.
So one of her big moves that you'll see is after doing her 6-step, which is, I can't really do the 6-step very fluidly anymore, but after doing this, she's here and she does this. Can you see me? All right. She does. Damn it. Across the floor.
So this was getting pretty much mainstream attention at this point, and rightfully so. Once again, a lot of people kind of echoed what I said a little bit ago, where it kind of felt like, with not knowing any information about this random woman that came up and did that at the breakdancing tournament, people felt mad. They were like, why is this lady hogging all the attention when there's genuine talent on the stage doing some good stuff, and she just kind of made a mockery of the sport, right? And people got to the point to where an actual petition was held by people to give kind of the higher-ups who had chosen her to be a part of the Olympics to give the public some sort of explanation of how this woman got into the Olympics in the first place, with them claiming that the qualifications were apparently rigged in her favor even.
petition has been circulating demanding that Rachel Gunn, also known as Ray Gunn, be held accountable for their roles in the breakdancing debacle. Breakdancing, being such a niche sport in Australia, didn't have a formal governing body, so Rachel Gunn took it upon herself to create one, to get breakdancing included in this year's Olympics. However, her actions appear far from ethical. She appointed herself as the head of this newly formed governing body, and her husband took on the roles of both judge and coach for the qualifiers. The most disturbing part of this story is that Rachel Gunn allegedly blocked genuinely talented breakdancers from underprivileged communities from even participating in the selection process. This move seems calculated to create an environment where only she, her friends, and her husband had a chance at making it to the Olympics. As a result, it appears she secured her spot in the Games by essentially eliminating the competition, many of whom were far more skilled. Videos of these other dancers show their talent is undeniable, which raises serious questions about how Rachel Gunn made it through while they did not. And a Change.org petition was launched this morning, demanding accountability and transparency. The petition has gained over 4,000 signatures.
I'd actually seen the petition. I think the goal was, I believe, 50,000 signatures, and they were actually almost to that goal. Once again, there were people who were genuinely angry about this, people who wanted answers. How the hell did she get in there in the first place? So you actually cannot view the petition anymore because it actually got taken down, which we're going to talk about in a minute. I found a thing that kind of quickly summarizes the basic claims. So it says, Australian breakdancer Rachel Gunn rigged Olympic selections by setting up her own governing body, running the Olympic qualifiers, and installing her husband as a coach for the national breakdancing team. So basically these guys were saying that she completely rigged this to where none of the actual talented people can get in at all, so that way she could hog the spotlight from everyone else. And from reading comments about the whole thing, you can definitely see there are people that believe this sentiment, that she rigged the whole system to get her in there, and that her husband was in charge of like vetting out athletes just so that she could win. Now, I was also hearing from other people that apparently there was some speculation that she was doing this to kind of get a free vacation and get flown out to Paris, but I genuinely have no idea where that part even came from, honestly. Doing my 15 minutes of research, I couldn't really find anything. The petition actually ended up getting taken completely down since it apparently had blatant false information in it, which led to the CEO of the Australian Olympic Committee actually responding since the petition got so much worldwide attention. And he essentially said that there was a lot of lies in the petition, and he asked that it be taken down due to all the misinformation that it was spreading, which I ultimately agree with, because it does seem like there were a lot of false claims that were just not true whatsoever. Look, I don't like the girl too. She seems pretty cringe, but like, y'all gotta relax. A lot of people thought she was like this grubby villain rubbing her hands together, destroying the entire concept of breaking in the first place. This even got to the point where the president of Dance Sport Australia, Madeline Zoanetti, made a statement about it where they shared the same sentiment. I'm going to put it on screen so you guys can read it. I'm not going to read it because it's basically, once again, what the president said. There was also another statement that came out from another member that explained that the judges that were there and that it wasn't biased with her husband there like people said. So you guys can see here, this is a statement by Luke Brown, who's the General Secretary of Dance Sport Australia. So he says, the international judges were flown into Australia to judge contestants in the Oceania qualifying event held in Sydney in 2023. The judging process complied with the required rules for the Olympic game qualification. Most importantly, that the judging was fair and independent. No judge had any connection with the competitors who came from multiple countries. This attacks the whole game theory that her husband was in charge of the judging and whatnot, and that all the people were like on her payroll, which according to their statements isn't true. And I don't think they would put their reputation and their neck out there if the information wasn't true, you know what I mean?
Importantly, a bunch of international judges were flown in to weigh in on this qualifier. They were from countries like Korea, Germany, the US, New Zealand, and so on. So after securing the win, Gunn was through to the Olympics and ready for her debut.
It did seem like that she was fairly picked. It's just that apparently Australia just has a really bad pool. There was apparently a breakdancer that actually commented that no one in the urban centers were aware of any trials for the Olympics. They think Australia went to the universities and found intellectuals and picked from them. To me, that makes the most sense on how this debacle takes place. Anyone who has ever watched So You Think You Can Dance has seen unbelievable breakdancing. To call what this woman is doing breakdancing is an insult to all those truly talented athletic dancers. So I can see definitely that being the case, but once again, I don't think that she herself rigged the entire event so that way she is like the only person who passes through each qualifying event, you know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, it was definitely a mistake for her to represent Australia. I don't believe that Australia has that little representation in breakdancing that you had to get a 36-year-old white white women to be the representative and that's the best you could do? I highly doubt that. So I actually believe that they probably just didn't go to the right places and just went to universities. So now we've gone through all that. Now let's go through her reaction. I would say that she had 3 separate reactions to this entire thing. So for starters, we kind of have her immediate reaction from the reporters. I'm assuming they talked to her like right as it was continuing to go on. So she said, "I was never going to beat these girls on what they do best, the dynamic and power moves. So I wanted to move differently, be artistic and creative, because how many chances do you get in that lifetime to do that on an international stage? Yeah, bro, how many times do you get to embarrass yourself completely on an international stage? That is very, very true." I actually saw quite a lot of people give her this excuse that it was like this creative and interesting art piece representing the culture of Australia. She did a kangaroo pose. Like, what? And it's like, okay, sure, that is a creative piece, sure, because no one else has done it before. I'm sure that the banana duct taped to the wall, where people called that art, it was also a really creative piece that no one thought of until then. But it's like, creativity is not everything. And her 0 points that she got proves that. Once again, I just really don't think that's an excuse to embarrass yourself on a stage in the freaking Olympics. Speaking of, I also saw some people saying that at least she gave it a go and tried. At least she tried her best and did what she could in the Olympics. Like, basically trying to massage the ego.
I love Rachel, and I think that what has occurred on social media with trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. The fact that, yes, Rachel didn't get a point yesterday, but she was there doing her best. It takes great courage to walk out into any sporting environment and try, have a go. That's what we're encouraging our kids. How can we continue to encourage our kids to do that when we're prepared to slam our athletes who do it on a global stage? So I am very grateful for Rachel, because I think what she has done for breakdancers and female breakdancers in the future generations will not be really appreciated for decades to come.
Yeah, maybe when we all lost our legs. Sure. Like, look, I'm sorry, but this is not some little league baseball where we're trying to get all the kids to perform. This is the damn Olympics. Like, let's keep it a fat stack here. This is the Olympics, okay? This is where some of the best go to display their hard work that they've been doing for a large portion of their lives. And I'm sorry, but Ray Gunn and her performance just wasn't something that should have been represented what breakdancing is as a sport. I'm not gonna put on some kitty gloves for this grown-ass woman who knows that she was trash. Even she said she knew she wasn't going to win. But holy shit, she could have at least tried a little harder, you know what I'm saying? And then this girl's like, "Oh, this is what we're encouraging our kids to do, mate. They're gonna go out there and they're gonna go fight with some body gloves on because Joey's out there don't know what they're doing. So we need a breakdancing white woman to tell kids what to do." Kids aren't competing in the Olympics. You cannot compare the two things. And I don't think the lesson of, hey kids, as long as you're creative, you're gonna be the Olympics and do so well, yay! That's not how that works. Now look, if this was like any other event, like if it was some low stakes sporting event that was kind of like just a thing in Australia that they do, I would actually understand this point. I don't think people should be discouraged from doing what they love. And this actually kind of brings me to another thing I wanted to talk about with this whole thing. Once again, there is a lot of misinformation about this woman being spread online, where there's like some things that are true and then some things that are not true, and you know, it's hard to kind of parse through and figure out what's true and what's false. But one thing that I'm about 90% sure of is I think this statement is wrong, where a lot of people said that Ray Gunn is like a culture vulture and she's basically invaded the culture of breakdancing and that she should never breakdance again. And honestly, I just think that's going way too far with it. Regardless of what your opinion is on her dancing, it really does seem like she is passionate about breakdancing. Like, she teaches it all the time in Australia. She has an entire like PhD essay that's been floating around, which I believe talked about like why women in breakdancing is underrepresented. Actually, I think it was something like that, but it was like a PhD essay that she wrote. I genuinely do think that she does love the sport. I don't think these people calling her a culture vulture are right. I don't think she is a culture vulture, and if she wants to compete in future competitions, I encourage her to continue breakdancing in the future. If she wants to make her videos on Instagram and stuff of where she's like dancing in various parts of the world or whatever, then that's completely fine. She's not in the Olympics. So yeah, I just completely disagree with that. I'm kind of curious on what you guys have to say in the comments about her being a culture vulture. I just don't think that she is. So then on August 9th, she actually had a post on Instagram like completely coping, basically saying the same thing that Anna Mears, who was the person that said that we're encouraging our kids or whatever, that person. She says, don't be afraid to be different. Go out there and represent yourself. You never know where that's gonna take you. Ray Gunn. And dog, some of the comments are hilarious. This guy says, ignore the supporters. This person says, thank you for being the perfect example of just because you think you can doesn't mean you should. You can identify as a breakdancer, but that doesn't mean you are one. Being untalented doesn't mean you're different. Every kangaroo will sue you, bro. Actual bro moment. And then this person said, you should be ashamed of yourself. There's absolutely nothing to be proud of. You've embarrassed yourself in your country, and you stole an opportunity from someone who will never get that opportunity again. Like the points you scored, you have 0 to be proud of. That's low-key a bar. But yeah, that response did not go over well. Not the best there, alright? And then on August 15th, she actually has another post on her Instagram. But this time, it was actually a video with a response to kind of the hate that she's gotten. So for starters, she says that the hate that she got for her routine was devastating.
Hi everyone, Ray Gunn here. I just want to start by thanking all the people who have supported me. I really appreciate the positivity and I'm glad I was able to bring some joy into your lives. That's what I hoped. I didn't realize that that would also open the door to so much hate, which is frankly been pretty devastating.
I'm not gonna lie, if this was the case and you were not expecting that your routine would be absolutely shitted on by everyone, then you probably should have at the very least run the routine by your partner for feedback about what could improve on, because you cannot convince me that she did that. I think the hate towards the routine is very warranted, and when you throw yourself out there for millions of people around the world to see, I think you have to be a complete moron to not see the criticism coming, especially with coming out with what she planned. And I don't even think that she's living in complete delusion, because she does say that she expected not to win. So I'm not sure what was going on with her brain as to believe that she wouldn't get hate for dancing like this and drawing attention away from the people that were actually putting their all into the whole thing.
Well, I went out there and I had fun. I did take it very seriously. I worked my butt off preparing for the Olympics and I gave my all, truly.
Guys, I worked my butt off. I worked my butt off. Noel does an impression of a dying fish on the floor. I don't know, man. I just have big superstition that she's not telling the truth here. There are so many variables that were clearly not good that she could have worked on, but it just doesn't seem like she did. There might be like some delusion going there. Like there are so many aspects of her performance that could have been worked on. Even me as just a spectator, I can literally see from all the times that she's breakdanced, her floor work is absolute garbanzo trash. Like her transition between her being on the floor to her like getting up and dancing is like really bad, and that's especially apparent in the Olympics. That's something you could have easily worked on. You cannot sit there and tell me that you worked your butt off, but that was probably the worst performance that I've seen from all the other videos you've uploaded. Like there is no possible way that you thought that that was your best. There was just not, bruh. Other than that, basically she's gone to kind of what we've already talked about. She like very vaguely addressed kind of all the allegations of her kind of running the entire thing and stuff. And she basically said, just go look at the statement if that is what you believe.
In regards to the allegations and misinformation floating around, I'd like to ask everyone to please refer to the recent statement made by the AOC, as well as the posts on the Ozbreaking Instagram page, as well as the WDSF Breaking for Gold page.
Which once again, I don't think that this is like some evil villain thing. I think that they just like chose in a very weird pool and didn't really advertise the event very well, if that makes any sense. So next she actually brings up a little bit of a fun fact, that being that breaking is apparently not a point basis, kind of clearing some misconceptions that the public made about breaking and how it's scored. Apparently breaking is not point based exactly and is instead scored strictly on comparison between you and your opponent, being more on a percentage base. And she also says that you can go and see the percentages yourself on the Olympics' official website.
Bit of a fun fact for you, there are actually no points in breaking. If you want to see how the judges thought I compared to my opponents, you can actually see the comparison percentages across the 5 criteria on Olympics.com. All the results are there.
I went ahead and did 15 more minutes of research and actually went on the official website and scrolled through, found her match between her and her opponent, and I wanted to see if she was right on that. So here you can see this is the official Olympic schedule and results. This is like the entirety of the Olympics. And then if you go down to August 9th in the breaking section with the B girls, you will see this slot here. You see Gunn and Logist, who is her opponent. And I went ahead and looked at the information, and she's right. Just giving her credit here. You can see here is split by technique, vocabulary, originality, execution, and musicality. And this is the overall score, which I'm assuming is like the sum of all of these 5 categories. Once again, this is Gunn right here, and then Logist right here. And you guys can see that Gunn got absolutely like fisted by this girl. Like, good lord. As you can see, like Logist is red, right? You can literally see the entire thing is just dominated. You have like these little pity points here. Like you got like 1% point here, and then in a 0.8% here. Once again, all on originality, which is not the greatest, but okay. And then if you look in the second round, she actually did worse, which I didn't even think was possible. And she barely scraped 1% of this entire thing. Like, this person just owned her, bro. Like, Gunn, you are truly lil bro. I'm not gonna hold you guys. I really feel like this is kind of arguing semantics at this point. Once again, even when you check on the website, while it is based on percentages, you can see the score that they display is 2-0. You see the votes, it's based on a voting percentage. So I guess if you want to be accurate, you could say that she didn't get a single vote at all. But once again, I really do feel like this is just arguing semantics. The entire point is you got curb stomped. You did horrible, and you were barely able to scrape 2% of 2 rounds. So this, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter all too much, because regardless of how much percentage that she racked up, she still at the end scored 0. Also, this is even how the committee says it. Like, they literally say she scored 0 points. But once again, this is just completely arguing semantics. Like, this is not even an argument. The last thing to kind of take away from the video is that she says that the press is actually harassing her family and friends, and she's told them to stop and respect their privacy.
I'm going to be in Europe for a few weeks for some pre-planned downtime, but I'd really like to ask the press to please stop harassing my family, my friends, the Australian breaking community, and the broader street dance community. Everyone has been through a lot as a result of this, so I ask you to please respect their privacy.
Which, once again, if this is true, I agree with. Look, guys, I get it. She's very cringe, but she's no Van de Velde, okay? She just had a horrible performance in the Olympics. I don't think encouraging people to harass her family is a very productive way of going about it. So let's chill on that aspect, okay? At the end of the day, there seems to be a lot of slander that Gunn is getting about her intentionally rigging the whole event and being a culture vulture that I just think isn't true, and I definitely think she's getting a lot more hate on that aspect, which I personally think is misdirected. Overall, did she kind of embarrass Australia, but also put a bad spotlight on breakdancing in general? Yes, 100%. But once again, I don't think that it warrants her to get constantly harassed about it and discouraged to even continue to breakdance at all. She did say at the end of the video that she was going to enjoy the rest of her time at Paris, and then she was going to respond to some other stuff that people were talking about. But once again, I feel like that's not really necessary and whatnot, so it's all good. I will say though that for these kinds of events in the future, I really feel like Australia should do a better job at finding talent that can actually compete. Once again, according to that comment that I showed you guys before, I think that advertising for the event over there was just sloppy in general, which makes sense to me at the least of how this woman was the pinnacle of what they could get, right? I think you are well within your rights to shit on the performance as much as you want. Once again, I definitely think that she deserves it, but I definitely don't agree with the blatant false information that's kind of muddying the waters of this whole thing. So now, we're here. After the initial clump of drama with Gunn. After that point, for the next few months, it was actually pretty calm. Just like I said previously, she didn't respond further to the criticism like she said she would, but once again, there was really no need to do that anyway, because, I mean, what are you gonna say? Also, from what it seemed, she actually had gained a little following from this whole thing, from people who saw it as more harmless than anything else. Once again, not to say that she brought likely some bad press towards the breaking community for sure, especially in Australia, but as I said before, I don't think think this was intentional from her, and I don't think a lot of people would assume that either. Now for the next couple months, things would be relatively calm, and Ray Gunn would pretty much be laying low from the internet. That is until October 25th, 2024, where she did a collab with Stellar. Now Stellar is a magazine brand that's proclaimed as quote-unquote Australia's most read Sunday magazine, with exclusive agenda-setting interviews, fashion, and insights from the country's top lifestyle experts. One of the things they do is collab with popular figures, and Ray Gunn got the opportunity to also collab with them.
Hi everyone, I'm Rach, aka Ray Gunn, and I'm here on the set of Stella. It's been a lot of fun being on the set of Stella. I haven't done anything quite like this, but it's been so great to get glammed up and to wear all these amazing clothes, and it's been cool to try on these different outfits and to wear something new, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Now considering that the Olympic breakdancing is what she's known for now, she had to comment on that somewhere in the magazine. And lo and behold, the quote would appear on the right side of her cover picture, where it says the following: "You did not bring me down. You did not succeed. I still stand by what I did." Bro, she's acting like she just fought for civil rights or something. People are just clowning on you for your dumbass breakdancing. There's really nothing more than that. Like, what are you talking about? So she also had some things to say as well to people that were making fun of her and whatnot via some statements that she provided Stellar. So here you see, my whole world has changed. My identity has changed. My relationships have changed. For better or for worse. It's in times like these that you find who your real friends are, unfortunately. And you know what they say, guys? When all else fails and everyone still clowns you for your dance moves, make it a gender issue and turn yourself into the victim. The classic. Women aren't allowed to be silly. I think if I was a man, I would have very quickly been given the larrikin title and people would have rallied behind me a lot more. Man, I love that one. Good job, Ray Gunn. True. It's amazing. Truly a time to be alive. You know, honestly, I should do the same thing. You know, if I ever step on my toe on the counter, I'm just gonna blame women for that, because once again, when all else fails, make it a gender issue. I'm so tired of this weird gender shit people try and like force down your throat. Bro, if a dude went up there and did the same garbage fish shit that you did on the stage, then yes, the internet would clown the fuck out of him too. There would be no rally behind anything except to make fun of you. And yes, he would be a worldwide clown. If your husband went up there, for example, and trust me, this dude is even worse than Ray Gunn at, calling this breakdancing would be like calling my shit a fish, because they both float in the water. So yes, he would definitely get shit on too if he was in your position. Don't worry, Ray Gunn. And originally, I wasn't even gonna bring him up because I did see this while researching, but since she brought up the sexism card, I had to. Also, I read a lot of the negative comments that she got, and not once did I see someone talking about her being a girl, just that her dancing is fucking abysmal. Obviously, I'm not saying that there's nobody on the planet that would do something like that. I'm sure they exist, but it's a very small percentage compared to the people that talk about her actual performance and how dog doo-doo it was. So in my opinion, this final response she did addressing this whole issue was terrible. But I will talk about something positive that she did that I actually prefer the direction of, besides just trying to make it, oh, I'm a helpless woman. And trust me, this is still very cringe, but I'll give the lady credit for something positive. So a couple days after her Stellar shoot, Ray Gunn issued the Ray Gunn Challenge. Think you can outdance Ray Gunn? Here's your chance to prove it. 5K for the best solo dancer, 10K for the best dance crew, which is 2 or more. How to enter: 1. Create your dance video using the Finder beat track. Post it with the hashtag Ray Gunn Challenge and tag and follow us at finder.au. And 3. Show us your moves. Ray Gunn waiting to see if anyone can bring it.
I've heard some of you think you can do better than me.
Really?
Let's find out, shall we?
I think my 70-year-old grandmother probably dances better than Ray Gunn, but I digress. Now, to be a little more serious, I do think this is a good way of handling the comments of people making fun of her garbage dance moves. And that's kind of by embracing the cringe of how bad she is, which I think usually is the best way to go about things in life, especially when it's trying to benefit the breaking community and whatnot, since she is giving away money here to these people.
Alright, all you Halloween lookalikes, if you're gonna look like me, you've gotta dance like me. There's 15K up for grabs. Join the Find a Ray Gunn Dance Challenge tonight. I cannot wait to see all those kangaroos.
Man, that is a really ironic statement for what we're going to talk about later. Now, once again, this benefited a lot of people who participated for sure. And to her credit, she got a lot of participators and she involved, I think, actual judges into it too. So, I mean, to be fair to her, she pulled her own and ultimately made this an enjoyable experience for everyone that participated, which, to be fair, was a lot of people. Man, this whole thing where she's like, oh, you think you can dance better than me? It's like, bro, what are we talking about, man? What are we talking about, man? Now, there was also a popular rumor that was going around that she was actually going to retire from breakdancing, apparently. She did respond to this and say that that was completely false. Apparently, it was based on something she said that I believe was taken out of context, and she also said that she just wasn't going to be a part of elite competitions anymore.
We need to deal with a bit of news up front because there's been headlines everywhere today saying you are retiring or have retired. Are you?
I know, it's gotten so much attention. So I was on Today FM and I was talking about competing and yeah, I don't really see myself competing anymore. And then like global news, Ray Gunn is retiring. And it just kind of has gotten a little bit out of hand. It's not me that's retiring, guys. It's Ray Hadley. He's the Ray that's retiring. It's not me.
Ray Had. Of course, Ray Had.
Yes,
Ray
yeah.
Had.
Bro, the comments here are insane. The delusion is real. How you retire from a career you never had? I mean, fair. Like, you go on any post with her, it's just constant hate. And honestly, like, I can't be mad. And you guys will see why later. Now, this comment isn't too important in the grand scheme of things. Just know that a rumor was going on and people were very happy about it. And it turned out not to be true. So, once again, Ray Gunn wouldn't be in the spotlight too much. That is until she entered into a controversy that showed just how delusional she is. So delusional, in fact, that this really put her in a horrible light. The comedy club legal shutdown. So this involves a small Australian comedian named Stephanie Broadbridge, who had an idea during December of 2024 to do a parody musical primarily based off of Ray Gunn and her performance that she did. Called it Ray Gunn the Musical. Now, as for some background info as to the event, we don't know a lot about it. Once again, I'll explain why in a little bit. For one, it was supposed to take place on December 7th at the Consolis Hotel in Darlinghurst, Sydney. Apparently, she was planning to include things like an 8-person cast and an entire band to perform as well during it.
Yeah, so we were all ready to go. We've been doing rehearsals. I had a 8-person cast. I had band members coming from Canberra.
There was also some more info where the original premise of the musical set to depict the breakdancers' Olympic journey over a 90-minute show and featured original songs including You May Be a B-Girl, But You'll Always Be a Girl to Me. And I would have won, but I pulled a muscle. Based and red-pilled. Either way, before it was going to begin, Broadbridge claimed that she got a message from the comedy club, fresh and hot off the presses, which forced them to cancel and not do the show anymore. But they didn't stop there, since they also threatened for the ID Comedy Club to reimburse Ray Gunn $10,000 if they continue to go through with the project, because according to them, that is what was supposed to apparently cover legal costs, which is like, it's batshit insane for a lot of reasons that we'll get into in a minute, but trust me, this is complete overkill to do, even if you do think you're in the right to shut down the event itself, which he's not, by the way, but once again, I'm gonna get to it. Keep in mind here, she sent, I believe, 2 legal letters to these people to end their club, and they ultimately obliged so nothing would escalate further. So, where does the $10,000 come in? Did you buy the lawyers $5,000 PCs to write the paper or something? Like what are we talking about? Because otherwise, there's nothing here that costs $10,000 at all. There's no reimbursement anywhere, because nothing she or her lawyers did cost $10,000. The owner of the club, whose name is Anthony Skinner, actually had responded to this thing, and like a true alpha, not only is he bald, but he also said that he's not paying her anything and would literally rather go bankrupt.
I'm never paying it. I'll go bankrupt before I give them a cent.
He was rightfully very baffled when first looking at this. He even said that he was going to start learning about law just so this doesn't happen again, which is actually kind of funny. And one interesting thing he said, which I actually agree with here, is this. The average person has no idea about any of this stuff. It seems like they're just sort of using that to their advantage and trying to get people to crumble. I think they think my comedy business is more successful than it actually is. Now, you guys may be thinking to yourselves, man, for all of this hullabaloo going on here, with the cease and desist and the $10,000 threat that they put on him for no reason, this comedy show had to be raking in like thousands of dollars on her name if she's taking it this far and willing to shut down a comedy club for this. And let me tell you guys that is objectively not true. In the cease and desist letter to the comedy club, it reveals the amount of tickets there were and how much they made too. And get this, they in total sold 70 tickets to the show and made a profit of $500. Yes, guys, they're going this up in arms and demanding thousands of dollars from a very small Australian comedian and a comedy club that will go bankrupt for a $10,000 charge, and their show only made $500. That is it. They also refused any type of compromise with them as well, which Skinner offered. They say in the letter, if you're offered during this telephone conversation to compensate our lawyer $500 is to be considered as a formal offer of payment, please know that any offer to settle on this basis is completely rejected. So just so you guys understand, this very small comedian, Stephanie Broadbridge, offered to pay all the money that they earned from the event to the people instead of the $10,000 charge, and they said there's no compromise. Motherfucker, what do you mean? So at this point, Ray is co-signing these lawyers to just outright legally bully these people into canceling this small show. And do you guys want to know what the most ironic part of this whole thing is? This dumb bitch was trying to cancel something to which the money was going to a woman's shelter.
On top of that, it turns out that the $500 in question was actually raised as part of a charity effort for a local women's shelter. Because ain't that the cherry on this cake?
Yes, miss, I wrote an essay about empowering women and run to pull the gender card when I make a mockery of an Olympic event, and women deserve to be more goofy and silly is essentially taking away potential money from a women's shelter and shutting down a small comedian show because she was being silly towards her. The irony is actually just like, it's like you can smell the irony. It's crazy. It's also especially messed up considering that this cease and desist actually came through literal hours before it was set to premiere, which is just a slap to the balls. And of course there's behind the scenes stuff, which I'm sure she also invested her own money and time to as well, that's just gone down the drain too.
After these legal threats, Steph had to cancel multiple shows at multiple different comedy festivals. Now, I am doing multiple comedy festivals this year. Tickets are there. I know how expensive this is. You have to pay registration fees, you have to pay venue deposits. She may even have booked accommodation. All of that money, seemingly, she may lose out on because of Ray Gunn's insecurity.
Now, I guess the question at this point is, what exactly are they shutting down this event for? Is it something warranted? Well, I would personally say no, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that, okay? Now, in the letter, it describes that they're suing for, quote unquote, use of Rachel Lewis Gunn's intellectual property. Now, they go into more detail towards the bottom of the page, basically saying that this intellectual property includes the use of her name, the image of her, in which they refer to this image where they use a shouted out version of the iconic kangaroo stance that she does at the Olympics. Apparently, it's just her magnum opus by the way she's referring to it. And they also mention the pose itself that's also not to be used, alongside her choreography, Olympic recordings of her performance, and the history of her what? Is this like her trying to admit that she pulled a muscle or something? Does she not understand what satire is? What is happening? This is all just incredibly baffling, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I cannot wait until every kangaroo in Australia gets sued by Ray Gunn because they're all copying her dance, dog. I'm leaving this up to you, the audience, to kind of base if you think she's in the right here or if she's in the wrong. But to me, I feel like not only do I think this is incredibly unnecessary for her to do, but Rachel Gunn is just a fucking asshole. And keep in mind, this is off the back of, as we covered before, her just doing a competition where she is literally monetizing her dance moves and whatnot and encouraging everyone to dance at least somewhat similarly to her. A lot of the people who had entries in the competition were doing the same dance moves as Ray Gunn, as either more of an homage or it was kind of like integrated into their actual routine, but they were doing her moves too. So once again, this proves just how inconsistent she is, where she's going so hard on this comedian but not on a lot of other people that also probably could have received a cease and desist letter too, you know what I'm saying? It's only to the people that she thought that she could win over. That is pathetic and cringe, Miss Gunn. Fucking loser. Broadbridge then responded in a post on Instagram. In it, she mentions that she's going to cancel the original vision for the performance for the sake of everyone involved and is instead going to rebrand and relaunch the event at some other point.
Hi, I'm comedian Steph Broadbridge. I'm just hanging out in my casual day wear. My trial show tonight for Ray Gunn the Musical has been cancelled. Ray Gunn's lawyers got in touch with the venue and threatened legal action, so we will be refunding everyone their $10 or comp ticket back. Her lawyers trademarked my poster, which is flattering. I hope they do something fun with that. And they were also worried that I was damaging her brand, which I would never do. She doesn't need me to do that. They were very concerned that people would think that Rachel Gunn was affiliated with the musical. I want to assure everyone she will not be part of the show. She's very welcome to come. I would love for her to see it. They also said I wasn't allowed to do the dance because she owns the kangaroo dance. That one did puzzle me. I mean, that's an Olympic level dance. How would I possibly be able to do that without any formal breakdancing training? Anyway, to alleviate the concerns of Ray Gunn's lawyers, I will be changing the name of the character to Ray Gunn with an I. So I hope that fixes everyone's concerns.
Now, as I said before, I 100% think that she went after Broadridge and the comedy club because they're both incredibly small people. At the time, they didn't have like a lot of influence on them, so she probably thought that she could get away with it. But fortunately, that is not the case, because this was actually reported on Australian news. And because of that, people saw that Ray Gunn was a complete loser and rightfully called her out and clowned her on this. From other comedians to even news outlets, like just straight up news outlets.
Joe, you can't own the kangaroo hop, can you?
No, absolutely not. No. Oh, no, I can't afford that. I can't afford it. I can't afford the risk. I can't afford the risk.
Legal action.
I think she's a little sensitive still about criticism.
This is the thing. This is why, like everyone said, she's taking the piss. So this is some big sort of meta kind of thing about where she'll do something, create this huge cultural global moment, which is what she lectures and writes about in her interminable, impenetrable essays. I think I'm worried about it. I do not think I do not think she's functioning. I think she's really, anyway. That's my diagnosis.
One fellow Australian comedian named Lewis Spears had actually started an entire petition. Keep in mind, this is the second petition against Ray Gunn. She just attracts petitions like a fucking magnet at this point. Which was basically a call to action to let Broadridge do her musical. And just so it's clear, Broadridge has nothing to do with it.
So with that said, I would like to announce this unofficial petition, not endorsed or known about by Steph Broadbridge. We don't know each other, Ray Gunn's legal team. Come after me, not her. This petition, let Steph perform. Sign the petition, tell the world that you want to see her show, and whenever she organizes whatever show she's able to legally do, I will notify every single person who signs this petition where to buy tickets, and we'll send a message to Ray Gunn that you don't sue comedians because you don't like their jokes.
From what I understand and from what I've done with my 15 minutes of research here, Australia is a country that loves to laugh at themselves a lot, right? With, having goofy figures and stuff, and they like to take the piss out of each other, and those people usually reciprocate it pretty well. In this instant, this was supposed to be the same case. Ray Gunn was a person who took the piss out of herself in the Olympic dancing, doing that really shitty Olympic dance performance. Then people were clowning her for it. The Australians got a hold of it and want to make her like some figure that they can laugh at, and that she can laugh at with them, basically. And this was supposed to be kind of the start of that, but she has completely stopped it. So it's like, I don't know what to tell you.
And we have a long, rich history of parodying famous, powerful and influential cultural figures here in Australia. It's a really big part of our larrikin Aussie culture, is making fun of the people in power, whether they're celebrities or politicians. And we often do this with the musical. There are dozens of examples of this. There is Chappelle Corby the musical, there's Shane Warne the musical. One of the more earlier references and the most powerful person who got their own musical was Keating, about Paul Keating, a former Prime Minister. It was all about the controversies surrounding his political career, making fun of him, making light of him, but welcoming him into it in our Australian way. And you know what his response was? Mind you, this is the Prime Minister, one of the most powerful people in the world. He attended several performances. Keating, who has attended the show multiple times, believes that it is popular because politics and public life today are without humour. The game is very dour, he says, but satire can get a lot across. It can cut out the humbug.
When the Prime Minister of Australia is actually learning to take the piss out of things, how does just some random white lady from Australia not doing the same thing? How? So this isn't something new or even the first musical that's been done. So once again, why couldn't she just take the joke and realize that people don't do this to bully her when she's from Australia? It's just beyond me. Now, your next question is, well, did Ray Gunn respond? What was her explanation to this? And I'm here to tell you, she did in fact respond. She did. And 2 videos actually. One of them we're gonna cover a lot later, but this one we're gonna cover now. Now, Ray Gunn first starts off by saying that she first heard about Ray Gunn the musical when it appeared on various news outlets. And as she put in her own words, the blowback was quick.
So the first we heard of it was last Friday when it was a story in the Sydney Morning Herald and on Channel 7 News. We were totally blindsided by this, and unfortunately the blowback was quick.
According to her, also, this show single-handedly damaged entire relationships, both personal and professional, because people thought she approved of the show and that she was going to be in it.
People assumed that we had developed it, that we had approved it, and it damaged many relationships, both personal and professional.
I kind of have to stop her here and do some commentary. How in the actual hell is a show that sold 70 tickets going to hurt your relationships with it? Like, let's stop and think about that. Does that even make any sense? And if this is true, who do you personally know that's had this damage to the relationship after this show's announcement? And why? Like, she's acting like Steph was gonna dress as Ray Gunn and say the N-word like 80 times or something. This doesn't make any sense at all, considering, once again, the only thing that was publicly known about the show at the time was the name and the basic premise. So how does this make any sense? Now, she also addresses the club receiving the letter at the very last minute, basically saying that it wasn't intentional to do, and that the first time that she actually has heard of the show was last Friday, once again on various news outlets.
So it was really unfortunate that the show had to be cancelled so close to the launch. I know the artist would have put a lot of work into it, and that really sucks. But had we known about it sooner, there could have been a different outcome.
Since we're here in the future, I have to clarify that this would be the 6th of December, since this was uploaded to Instagram on the 12th. Apparently, this was complete bullshit, as the legal letter that she and her team worked on was submitted on the 6th, as Rachel said. But if this is true, then that would mean that her legal team would have researched things about the show, created a decently dense letter and a legal threat in only a couple hours. And since the letter itself was sent to the club at 3 p.m. that day and received the email at 11 in the morning, that would leave a very small window to do all of this stuff, which is highly unlikely.
I was sent this letter by an anonymous source, and it says, urgent response required, 3 p.m., 6th of December, 2024. It was sent on the 6th of December, but let's have a look at when they probably started writing this, because I'm told that they received this email at about 11 a.m. in the morning. So you're telling me that lawyers found out about the show, did all the research they needed to do about the show, and wrote this incredibly dense 3-page long lawyer letter in about 2 hours? I doubt it.
Now, what's really interesting is that this show had been publicly known about and advertised since the 25th of September. And from what we can see, that was also the day that Ray Gunn and her legal team had mysteriously trademarked the kangaroo pose.
As you can see here, we've got the Ray Gunn the musical, we've got the kangaroo pose, the silhouette, and when was this posted? The 25th of September. We can actually see exactly when Ray Gunn's legal team trademarked the silhouette of the kangaroo pose that you can see on the poster. That's right, it was trademarked the very same day, the 25th of September. Ooh, what a coincidence. So you're saying that you only found out about this musical the morning you sent off the legal letter, but we have here evidence that you trademarked the silhouette after Steph Broadbridge posted it on her Instagram.
Interesting, embarrassing. So, unless this is just the most convenient timing on planet Earth, and she just happened to trademark the exact same pose that Steph used in her poster, that means that she lied, and they weren't blindsided by anything, because they would have known about the creation of this show for months. Anthony Skinner, the club owner, also echoed this and called this out.
Saw Ray Gunn's video about the musical I was producing and helping run, basically filled to the brim with lies. She said she was blindsided by it, her and her legal team. And I've got proof here that they took the silhouette from the poster and trademarked it the same day, filed it the same day the poster came in. So like, sure. And that was months ago. Yeah, blindsided my ass. Also, this is how you do a video without reading a script, especially when you're going to apologize to the Indigenous people. My God, grow up.
Ah. That is it. Oh, what's that date say? Ooh.
25th of September.
Ooh, interesting.
That's when it was filed.
Ah. Oh, what's this?
25th of September. That's when it was posted by Steph.
Very interesting. Blindsided, you say?
And you know what they say, after you lie once, that isn't the only time. If you are actually blindsided by this, why not say in your response and be truthful about when you filed this thing if you were actually blindsided by it? Well, I feel that the reason why is because she was trying to hide something, and this is what she was trying to hide. That also makes me question that whole thing where she said it wasn't intentional to shut down the show last minute. Because why not do that when you originally trademarked the kangaroo pose all the way back in September and saved Broadbridge a lot of money and the comedy club owner a lot of their time and money as well. Another thing that she says in her response is that this whole debacle was never about the money for her, and then proceeds to say that she's been contacted by multiple shows and says that she's quote unquote not about that life.
This has also never been about the money. I have been contacted to go on just about every reality TV show out there, and I've declined big money because I'm not about that.
So once again, if we go and look at the letter, she's either lying here or her lawyers were lying in their statement. If you read it, it literally says, our client requires that you agree to the following undertakings, and the reimbursement for $10,000 are in there. If money was never a thing to her, why would this be listed in the requirements for them to agree to? That makes no sense at all. So either it's one of three things. One, she's lying in this statement, in this video that she's making. Two, her legal team went rogue behind her back and lied in the letter that she required this of them. And three, she doesn't care about the money, but just wanted to make the comedy club go bankrupt. Now, in two of the three situations, she's a piece of shit. And in the other scenario, she's a fucking idiot and didn't read through the letter to proofread what they're saying. So Ray Gunn, you pick your poison here. Especially if she's not participating in this, the professional portion of this makes no sense either. Also, she never explained what she spent in legal fees that cost $10,000 either in her statement, so that would be an interesting tidbit to know about, at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, especially the comedy club owner. What do you need $10K for, Ray Gunn? She then provides some claims that there was some misinformation about her trademarking her name and whatnot. She basically said that it is correct that she trademarked her name and pose because there were applications from others that wanted to trademark her name and dance moves. I don't know why someone would want to do that, but go off, I guess. And then she wanted to make it clear that she did not trademark the kangaroo dance, saying that it was inspired off of BK the boxing kangaroo, and then proceeds to apologize to the indigenous Australian people for upsetting them about the dance.
In terms of the kangaroo dance, I did not trademark it or claim any trademark ownership of the kangaroo dance, and it in no way mimics Aboriginal dance. It was instead inspired by the Australian Olympic mascot, BK, the boxing kangaroo, and I wanted to represent and celebrate that spirit. Now, I know that this misinformation about the kangaroo dance has upset many members of the Indigenous community, and I'm sorry for that. And I'm really sorry that this hasn't been corrected sooner.
To be fair to her here, because I want to be fair, I do partly agree with this. If there were people that were using her likeness or her name without permission, then I do think she has the right to protect herself by trademarking these things. There are definitely predatory people that will trademark things and in turn damage that brand by doing things like that. Like with what happened with the recent return of Flappy Bird, for example, that I've been doing a lot of research on for no apparent reason whatsoever. So this point is fair in my eyes. However, the thing about the indigenous Australian people, it's so fucking cringe, dude. Oh my gosh. What's so funny is I think she just missed the entire point of people bringing that up, because that was an argument that people were bringing up, that she did not create the kangaroo dance. So why are you trademarking you in a kangaroo pose?
In her legal letter, Ray Gunn says the kangaroo dance is her intellectual property and that nobody else can perform it. You own the idea of dancing like a kangaroo. That's an interesting claim from a woman who did it 20 years after the Wiggles and 60,000 years after Indigenous people did.
So yes, there were people making that argument, but do I think that Indigenous Australian people were upset by this trademark? Or was it people trying to show you that you're trying to trademark a f***ing kangaroo dance is stupid? Because I personally think that she missed the point in people bringing this up in the first place. From my 15 minutes of shitty research that I did, I feel like it's the latter, but I could be wrong about that. Also, it's crazy how you'll apologize apologize to them, but not to the club that you're trying to financially screw over, or the comedian whose show you try to completely cancel. As for the claim that she didn't claim any part of the kangaroo dance, that's partly true, but not telling the whole truth, as the legal statement says.
Our client's choreography performed at the Olympics was the culmination of over 10 years of training. Fuck, maybe you should have done 20. Our client has spent significant time, effort, and expense creating her choreography. You will recognize this Olympic-level choreography is a complex sequence of moves and techniques, of which our client is the creator and author. Copyright subsists in this choreography as an artistic work.
So what this means, for anyone that may be confused, is that while she didn't technically trademark the kangaroo pose, she is claiming that she owns the copyright to the entirety of her choreography, which includes the kangaroo pose that she did. So for all you dying fish out there, expect a letter from her lawyer soon, okay? A very, very sneaky half-truth, but still a disingenuous interpretation of events, in my opinion. Now, she also, for the 8th millionth time, makes herself a victim as well, and she talks about the negativity from the community, and then she bolsters on and on about how it's unfortunate that it happens around these situations.
Now, it's disappointing to see how quickly misinformation and negativity spreads. Please remember that just because you hear or read something about someone on social media, that doesn't mean it's the full story or even that it's true.
Dude, what are you talking about? You're the cause of the negativity in the first place. She also mentions how there's a person behind all this with a family.
Remember also that there is a person behind all this with a family, with friends, and who until a few months ago, nobody had even heard of. I'm really just trying to do my best to navigate this new chapter of my life.
Which I understand that point, I guess, but it's crazy how you didn't consider that when trying to extort money from a small comedy club owner. So why should you get special treatment because you have a family? Everyone has a fucking family. That doesn't exempt them from criticism, especially criticism of a situation that is directly harming others. Others that, by the way, also have loved ones that care for them. I'm gonna say this right now, this initial response, besides maybe a couple points, was absolute dog shit. I'm not gonna lie, it just makes her look worse, in my opinion. Especially when you cross-reference that with the amount of lies that she blatantly had in her statement. However, despite that, Broadbridge had actually come out and apologized, which in my opinion, I definitely don't think she had to do like at all. Gunn is completely in the wrong in my opinion, but from the little that I've seen, Broadbridge seems like a very sweet and nice person. I'm sure she genuinely did feel bad for causing all this in the first place. She's better than me, I'll tell you that much. I'd be saying words that would definitely get me canceled on Twitter for a week.
Well, do you have a message for her if she's watching? Yeah, if you're watching, I just want to say I'm really sorry for any negativity that you might have received as a result of this. I can promise you that was not my intention. This was supposed to be me trying to make you feel like the icon that I believe that you can be in Australia, and I just wanted to support you through it. So if there's been any negativity, I'm really sorry.
This did not stop the very justified backlash that came Ray's way, and people continued to defend Broadbridge in her show. Specifically, some Australian YouTubers like Lewis Spears and Sydney Watson, who made sure not to make this a low-key issue, something that's only the Australians would know, right? And good for them for doing it. I want to give a huge shout out and credit to Lewis Spears, who specifically was able to leak and provide the official legal documents that Gunn and her legal team wrote up in like a couple hours apparently. And the craziest part about all this is due to Australia's unique laws about copyright and parody. Luckily, there's an article that helps us understand whether Gunn's threats have any merit to it or not. As you guys can see here, you have Gunn's claim against a parody musical may not stand up. Here's what the law says. So the short answer to this question of if there's any merit to any of the claims made by her legal team is a resounding no. This says the law is clear. Gunn is unlikely to be able to enforce intellectual property over her name, her persona, and her dance moves, and there are exceptions and rights for Australians to parody without it being infringement. As the article says, in Australia, parody is completely protected in copyright law. So even if they didn't comply and went to court, her and her team would most likely get laughed out of there and lose the case. And this is the case with pretty much everything they told her to get rid of. Basically, as long as it's a clear parody of the brand, you're allowed to use it. For example, Ray Gunn can't actually claim her name because according to the article, while you can protect your name as a trademark for things like a name of a brand or service, you're not allowed to copyright any slogan, name, or short title, you know, the works. While Ray Gunn is a clever play on words, it does not qualify for copyright protection. Using it in the title of a production like Ray Gunn the Musical is not copyright infringement. And to put it shortly, basically everything that the legal team is preventing Broadbridge from showcasing, from her persona to even her dance moves, would likely fail in court because the musical is clearly parody. The only reason why the comedy club owner or Broadbridge herself doesn't want to go to court over this is because court costs a lot of money to do and they just don't have the funds to support that venture, right? But if they did have the money to support it, they would lose in court. And this is probably the case of why she didn't copyright strike a bunch of these other people too that I mentioned beforehand. So basically, Ray Gunn is a pathetic bully, and that's it. She only did this not because she thought there was a case there, but just to simply legally bully two parties that self-admittedly are not savvy in legal means.
Screw jump bit.
Yeah.
She's copyrighted that.
I don't know if she has, but I'm not sure what the rules are. I'm not a lawyer. I've never had to deal with lawyers before in my life. It's all very crazy.
And can you blame them for not expecting some psycho fucking crazy bitch to legally bully them into her demands? So going back to the timeline here, on December 18th, 2024, Broadbridge announced on her Instagram that she has completely rebranded the whole thing, calling it Breaking the Musical, a completely legal parody musical, which is now going to be starting in late February and lasting until May. And hopefully, through the Streisand effect, it'll be more successful than it would have been before. That's what happens when you bring attention to something that you didn't want people to know about. So on top of that, Broadbridge put out one final statement on the matter and said the following. I have a statement to make about Ray Gunn the Musical. I acknowledge again that I did not contact Ray Gunn before I created the title and poster, which used the word Ray Gunn and her silhouette. It was never my intention to mislead people into thinking that she was involved in the production. She is not and continues to not be attached to this project in any way. I have changed the name of the show and the silhouette and will not use her name or the silhouette ever again. I am deeply sorry to learn that Ray Gunn has faced negative backlash as a result of the media attention around the cancellation of the preview for the musical. The last thing I wanted was for anyone to experience hate or distress from the situation. The show is a comedy show. It is based entirely off of stuff I read on the internet. It is a fictional telling of a moment in Australian history. It is now called Breaking the Musical. Now, a day after all of this happened, Ray Gunn then put out a second response to all the drama going on since things were only escalating and not dying down. Now, she starts off by saying that she's resolved everything behind the scenes. Both teams actually had worked together and came to the agreement to let the musical run through, as we've already talked about. And the legal team also seemed to be in the same boat when you look at their statement regarding the situation.
Ray Gunn's lawyers say our client considers the matter between herself and Miss Broadbridge closed and is excited to see what Miss Broadbridge has devised for her new show.
Clearly, this is also linked to that official apology from Steph Broadbridge that came out, as you smell the lawyer muscle in it. Oh boy, does it stink. It stinks! Ray Gunn also addresses the $10,000 requirement on the cease and desist, and she says that it's from really early on, and to me, makes it seem like it was the lawyer's idea to do this.
So there's a lot of talk around this $10,000. That was from really early on. Day one, my lawyers were acting on my behalf. They'd sent out letters, and they asked for a response by a certain time. They didn't hear a response, and we were worried that we might have to go to court. Obviously no one wants that, and so the 10K would just be my potential legal costs if we had to go to court.
And then she claims to not be seeking costs and reaffirms that they didn't ask for that and that this was just in case that it went to court. Once again, still lame, but let's go through this one by one. Now, personally, I think this is a lie. You can literally check the cease and desist letter and see the long list of requirements given to her. I don't know why she's acting like we can't see the reimbursement for $10,000 right there. Also, them not hearing a response is literally not true either, as in their own letter, they refer to a conversation they had over the phone, and the comedy club owner initially offering them the $500 that they were going to make from the show. It's just that the demands weren't to their liking and thus threatened them with the legal letter. Also, him not responding to you doesn't warrant you to threaten to shut down his business. That is just psychotic. Lastly, to the point of it only being there for a potential lawsuit, it's still messed up to put that on a comedy club owner, even if that is true. But if you look at her own letter, her lawyers put that the reimbursement would be for legal costs to date, meaning as of December 6th. So unless your Fiverr lawyers made a typo, in which case the communication really seemed pretty poor here, you're lying. Shut up. You're a loser. So then she follows up saying that it's been a stressful time for her, and then almost forgets to acknowledge the hurt that it caused Steph and Anthony. So she made sure to add that part in there just to be sure no one could criticize how selfish the statement would have been otherwise.
This has been a stressful time for me, and it's been tough for me, but I know that I'm not the only one. I know that this has been tough for Steph, for, you know, everyone in her show, a lot of other people, and it's never been my intention to cause any hurt or distress.
Then she apologizes for any hurt that she caused and said that she's not doing this intentionally to stress them out. Personally, in my opinion, considering now that we know that you knew about the musical for months, but then you decided to do it on the day that they were going to perform, I don't buy that. But oh my gosh, bro, it's insane how much she plays the victim, man. Both times you've been in the hot seat, you have plopped your ass in there willingly. You consensually competed to be a part of one of the biggest sporting events ever and made a mockery of yourself willingly. Then you saw this event and wanted to shut it down, so you willingly put out a statement to them and threatened them with legal action. You weren't sprung into this unknowingly. You invited yourself in this position both times. I don't care that it's been a stressful time for you, and I highly doubt you care about the well-being of Steph, as she now has to worry about lawyers breathing down her neck, as she says. And you definitely don't give a damn about Anthony Skinner either, since you're trying to get his business shut down.
Because everyone has put this out into the public light and everyone has, you know, risen up against what you're trying to do here, the reason why no costs have been sought is because clearly, as you are saying, you have made the decision to not seek them any longer, but you were. You're dancing around the issue. You're going, oh, it wasn't about the money and no costs have been paid out and we're not seeking any costs. You're missing a word there. We're not seeking any costs anymore. That's the word. Like, we're not seeking costs now. You obviously were then. It's in your own legal letter.
Now, she then says something about her 2024 being hard, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't really give a shit. This person is a disgusting bully. And also, notice how in this video, after the fact that the money going to a women's shelter is public knowledge, she doesn't mention that at all in her video. Like, that's just completely just poof out the brain. This is coming from the girl who claims to care about women so much that she wants to victimize herself and say she's a victim because of the gender issue and blah, 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 optics, blah, 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 moral grandstanding, blah, blah, blah. I hate her! She's annoying! I don't like you! At least she withdrew her lawyers and let Steph go on with the show, so that's good news at the very least. And it looks like she's not allowed to talk about it being related to Ray Gunn at all, or even mention it by name. That's okay.
I would say I don't know what you're talking about. This is a completely fictional story, and that is all I will say about it now.
However, the inspiration sounds familiar.
The show is going to be about a breakdancer going to the Olympics.
Apparently, Ray's lawyers said that they were afraid that there would be confusion about her being in the musical, and this is why they went to these lengths.
Lawyers representing Ray Gunn say the Olympian became concerned the club was misleading the public and consumers that she was involved in a commercial venture, Ray Gunn the Musical. The legal proceedings have since been dropped.
I'm sorry, but I don't understand how their advertising would lead people into thinking that first at all. Wouldn't there be like a featuring Ray Gunn in there somewhere if you were a part of the show? And even if there were people who were genuinely confused, why not just make a post on Instagram saying that you're not going to be in the show? Or a post anywhere, I don't care where, but just tell people you're not going to be part of the show. It's not that big a deal. It's parody, jackass, it's parody! And now because of this drama, that conspiracy theory that we discussed at length previously is back now, and people are once again thinking that she cheated her way into the Olympics in the first place by rigging the selection process through her husband.
The conspiracy is that Ray Ray Gunn, being a PhD educated academic with a specialization in breakdancing and the scene, used her know-how to set up several different government bodies that were in charge of the selection process that decided who was going to go to the Olympics. Her husband, a man named Sammy Free, is also a breakdancer who happens to be her coach.
Which, by the way, I still don't think is true. But what I will say is that there are some interesting pieces of footage of the qualifiers. One being a dance battle with a breaker named Holly Molly. And I'll just say this. I think a 7-year-old could probably judge who won that. She did mountain climbers in the middle of that shit. Like what? She did mountain climbers. Now, because this video is long enough, I'm gonna link videos to both Lewis Spears and Flesh Simulator, who did really good breakdowns of some interesting conveniences on Ray Gunn's qualification performances.
But then, I found a research paper by Ray Gunn, Dr. Rachel Gunn, from 2014, called Breaking Down Dominant Conceptualizations of Place, the Transgressive Potential in 143 Liverpool Street Familia's Engagement with the Downing Centre Courts. So I looked up 143 Liverpool Street Familia and found a member list. You almost got away with it, didn't you? Oh, nar, indeed. So it turns out this building had its own sort of oceanic breakdancing Illuminati associated with it. Both Ray Gunn and Sammy the Free were members. The judges of every preliminary battle that Ray Gunn won to make it to the Oceania Championships had at least one judge from 143 LSF, including, on at least one occasion, her husband.
I won't lie to you guys, I do think it's kind of sus. I do think that is actually really, really sus. And once again, please check out Flesh Simulator and Lewis Spears' video about it because they go into a lot more detail about it. But yeah, it is pretty sus, I'm not gonna lie. I still don't think it's like concrete proof. Maybe the judges just like don't have eyes. Maybe they were doing too much sun gazing before. Because for it to be a unanimous decision against Holly Molly when she was clearly doing the better dance moves, I won't lie, it's suspicious. But let me tell you guys something. This story about how she was trying to take down this Australian comedy club and this Australian comedian has made me not like this person at all. Regardless of if you think you're well within your legal right to do it, which you're not, but even if you did think, it's still a shitty thing to do regardless. And honestly, I hope this lady's 15 minutes of fame dies out even quicker than it already has. And I think to end this long, arduous video that I wasn't even planning to be that long, I think what speaks volumes is how other breakdancers in Australia were affected by her performance at the Olympics, and how the perception of breaking in general has made it harder for them to receive opportunities.
Clark added that the fallout from Ray Gunn's performance has really affected her and other breakdancers. She said, "How do I go to work now and try to get our sponsorship and get our grant money for breaking programs for a sport that's just been made a mockery of? And how do we go out and represent our country at other world level events when Australia's been made a fool of? This is actually affecting us on a much larger scale than just memes."
I think when you do things like breaking, or when you do a sport that is traditionally something that people who aren't rich can do, I feel like you need to be different with your selective process if your goal is to get the best of the best to participate. Because breaking is a sport that isn't a rich person's sport. A lot of the people who are really good at breaking have a financial barrier, and they don't traditionally have a lot of money.
Clark also revealed breakers wanting to take part in qualifying had to register with 3 different organisations just to try out, and they also had to have a valid international passport. That meant a number of breakers weren't willing or able to fork out the money with no guarantee they'd be heading to Paris.
I feel like in the future, that needs to be considered when going out and choosing who to go into this. And that's something I didn't even think of when I initially made the first part of this video. From things like this that put other breakers at a disadvantage, and other things like sponsorships and grants being affected too for these guys, making it even harder for them on a general scale, it's clear Ray Gunn did make a mockery of the sport. There's even a clip that went around where Ray Gunn said that she was actually the best performer in Australia.
Do you genuinely think you are the best female breaker in Australia?
Well, I think my record speaks to that. You know, I was the top-ranked Australian B-girl in 2020 and 2022 and 2023. I've been invited to represent at how many World Championships, Paris, Korea. You know, so the record is
is there.
Bro, it's just so weird. The girl in your own competition danced infinitely better than you. It's actually kind of hilarious when you think about it. It's a parody on its own. How the lady that wrote an entire essay about destigmatizing gender and claiming to care about the sport didn't think about how her shit dancing and her shit routine could have an effect on the exact same people she was trying to uplift this entire time. It's tragic, but hopefully this won't be a permanent thing. Overall, what is my opinion on Ray Gunn? My opinion on Ray Gunn went from is just some stupid lady who thought that she was delusionally good at breakdancing or whatever, into ultimately losing and me feeling kind of bad that she got harassed and stuff, and I still don't think she should get harassed over it, but I have a very, very different opinion of Ray Gunn now. I think that she's fucking delusional, and I think that overall, she's a shit dancer, and she's a psycho, crazy asshole who tries to take down people that make fun of her. And the only reason that she did it to this comedy club and this comedian is because she had the ability and power over them. She didn't have the power over everybody else, but if she did and she was in that position, I very much think that she would have done the same thing. This person is a fucking loser and she's a piece of shit, and that is my overall opinion on Ray Gunn. What she did was literally the equivalent of small channels getting taken down because a bigger channel sends them a copyright strike, and because they're smaller channels, they think they can get away with it. But the good news about it is that Australia kind of bolstered this information, and it's kind of similar to like content creators rallying behind each other when one of them gets bullied into taking down the video, not because of any legitimate reasons, but because it's mostly critiques on a certain video. I don't like this person at all, and I think she should be laughed off the internet and probably just forgotten into just being the shitty breakdancer, and that's it. But regardless, let me know how you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about Ray Gunn. I know this is like a somewhat old story, but I wanted to talk about it, and I had the chance to use my old footage, so suck it, nerds. Alright, well anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next episode, and with all that being said, deuces, folks. Make sure to wipe before you flush, because you're wasting water if you don't. Alright, peace.